You're going to have to tell the old guy.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to post-episode issues, Vikings. Season 3, Episode 9, The Breaking Point. And this was a Breaking Point episode of Vikings. Could we see the beginning, to talk about what you guys are already talking about in the chat room right now? Could this be the beginning of the end of Ragnar? We talked about this a lot last week, Joe, as we got into it. But Joe's not alone. Katie has gone through a transformation in the between episodes. And so Joe is here as well as Joe Dirtylockz. We have Daddy Dirtylockz.
Yeah. Daddy No Locks.
No
Locks. Joe's dad, who also watched this episode of Vikings, is going to share his thoughts with us on the episode as well. So if this is your first time joining us, please jump in the chat room if you're checking us out live and share your thoughts of Vikings. We see that we already have a bunch of people in the chat room talking right now. Ren Renwood, my good friend Silent Fox Photo, who just started his account and can join the chat room tonight. Jojo Mopeet, a couple of other people that have been in and out of this to talk about this episode that have emailed me already talking about what happened here. It's a really exciting episode of Vikings leading into the series season finale, and I can't wait. Joe, what did you think of this episode? Quick thought.
I loved it. It was like an extension of last week's battle. I thought it was fabulous to watch. I liked all the little bits of drama. I even liked the shit that happened to Kattegat.
Me too.
I'm not a fan of going back there when we're not there, but I didn't mind. I certainly didn't mind.
Larry, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was a defining moment for Ragnar. Probably the most defining moment throughout the whole series. As we discussed earlier, probably the point where when he was going to be baptized, and the priest told him he was going to go to hell anyway, and Ragnar told him it wasn't up to him.
Yeah,
as he caresses his face.
Right. And actually explaining to a priest that you don't know what it's all about, and I do, and I will be with my friend.
More than just a priest, like a bishop.
You really don't know, and it's not up to you.
He was like the Archbishop of like Paris, or
he really believed and got to believe that God would have him with his friend, with Athelstan.
Joe, and I agree with that 100%. In the fact also giving him that look that I know more about your religion than you do because I talked to Athelstan and he understands it more than you ever will, buddy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Rachel says, I hope not the end of Ragnar. And Jojo Mopeet says, if he was dying, he wouldn't be walking and talking. Very good point.
And it's not fully true. He could have some serious internal injuries. He could be on his way out. But I think more so what's going on with him is part of the illness that's going through the camps and stuff. It's on top of his internal injuries. I really think they wouldn't be playing up his dying so much if he was about to die. But then the previews for next week really looked like he was not going to be a part of it.
Yes, it totally hinted at that. I don't like to go too much by the trailers, but if we go anything by the trailers, it was like, I thought I'd last longer than you, brother. Oh, we'll never meet in heaven. We'll never meet in the afterlife, Ragnar. It was horrible to kind of think about that. Asphyxia says it's 3:30 a.m. here, but I'm ready to do this. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. We know it's really late overseas with Silent Fox Photos, who is over in England right now, or over in the UK right now, and dealing with the time the time switch. Jojo Mopeet says, hi, Larry. Nice to meet you.
Hi. One point I want to make, though. If Ragnar dies, I think the series dies because that would be akin to Rick dying in The Walking Dead.
I think that's I kind of agree with him.
I don't think it will happen.
I know that you've told me, Phil, that the producers have said that they were planning on killing him off in season 1.
They thought about it at the beginning of season 1. They had talked about it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that they can get away with that now at this point. I think he makes the show. I think as good as the other characters are, as good as the writing is, they're not going to bring in the rating. I think I'm not going to necessarily be as into this show if Ragnar dies.
If Rolo
becomes more?
Well,
go ahead.
Rolo, see, and that's just it. Rolo doesn't have what it takes to carry this show. Bjorn definitely does not have what it takes to carry this show. I'm sorry. I'm not really big into that actor. I don't really like him that much in his last man standing sniper thing he did, sniper SEAL team thing, whatever it was he did with Mark Wahlberg. He's not that dynamic of none of them are really.
You kill off Ragnar, kill off Rick.
And they compare it to
You
Gabriel
can't.
Byrne, them killing off Gabriel Byrne in season 1. And I'm sorry, but Gabriel Byrne was maybe your biggest star at the time, maybe even still the biggest star that's had anything to do with this series, with the exception of maybe Donald Logue. But he wasn't our main star of the show. He wasn't what was carrying the show, and killing him off was part of the storyline for Ragnar's storyline. Killing Ragnar off changes this show completely, and they will lose such an audience.
Ren says the plague is coming. This is going to even everything out. Silent Fox says, I like the visions, the split personality, like Christianity, the God, and the devil. Silent Fox also says,
I don't think that was the devil. I think that was Odin.
It was Odin. It was Odin. Dr. Pavel in CIA says, as much as I love Clive as Rolo, I don't know if he can carry the show. As long as Daryl lives, I'm down with it, says Ren about The Walking Dead. Asphyxia says, maybe they'll do a massive time jump and we'll meet Athelstan's son in grown Ivar. That's what I was just about to say. That great point, Asphyxia. If we were to lose Ragnar, that's the only thing they can do is jump in time and cast someone else to be the star. That's
cast a lot of people,
a lot of other people to try to make up for them. And that's I think through everything else that happened in the episode from a television standpoint, I think that's the big question going into next week. Is next episode Ragnar's last? And
if it's his last, it's gonna be a lot of fans' last as well.
I don't think it is. I tend to think it isn't, because he's been shown to heal and it's more drama if he has to stay alive, considering everything he's been through. And I don't want to go too into it, but if we go into historical spoilers, things are starting to match up. It doesn't make sense for him to die here. It just doesn't.
It doesn't. He doesn't, like, historically, he's not dead here. He leaves here, he comes back. So historically, it doesn't match up, but not everything in this has matched up historically.
I think he personifies what the Vikings are. And if you get rid of him, it's just like getting rid of one other ruler where we've seen so many kings of the Vikings already die off, already get killed, already be overthrown. You do it to him, you're just starting the cycle over and over again.
Yep.
I think that's why he has to stay, because you're just rehashing everything we've already seen. Another ruler dies. Now we get another one, and another one.
It would seem, it would seem too formulaic of a show where, oh, okay, he's just gonna die. Don't become attached to anybody. And you were saying the thing with Rick, Larry, which makes a ton of sense. I would go to say the same thing. It would be like if The Sopranos killed Tony after the 3rd season,
right?
Or Breaking Bad killed Walter or something like that. You just couldn't. Oh, spoiler alert! Walter doesn't die in season.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe there was enough other great, dynamic, not flat actors who could have carried that show. Maybe
Which one?
Even Sopranos.
I disagree. I don't think you could have gone. But let's not get too far down the Soprano road.
Let's compare this with killing Ned Stark. Oh, big spoiler there. It works differently because that is like a.
But you got to do
so many
early.
Different stories going on there.
It only works if it's done really early. Ned Stark was killed off
in the first
early
season.
Enough. Right. He was killed off right away.
If they had killed him in the first
It has
season,
to be
I
done
think
fast.
it could have worked, but
Before
it's not going to work now.
Before the public falls in love with the character, they got to kill him off at the very beginning.
Exactly. Before he becomes the face of the show, not at a point where you introduce a lot of characters and then by the end, the one that starts off as the face ends up disappearing. Rachel says, it would be my last if he dies. Dr. Pavel says, I'm watching for Rolo anyway, so if Rag dies, I'm okay with it. Travis Fimmel has been amazing in this, though, and I can't wait to see however long this show lasts. I can't wait to see what else Travis Fimmel does. I think he has some great stuff in him. He's really awesome.
It kind of pisses me off that they cast Charlene Theron as Mad Max, knowing that Travis Fimmel is out there.
Yeah, he would be great as Mad Max.
Unbelievable. I think he would personify that role.
He's saving out for the Sons of Anarchy prequel to be Jackson's dad.
I couldn't. Yes. Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Ren says, no, that just wouldn't work for me. I'll just switch over to Dig, which is on at the same time. So let's open up to this episode here.
They kill Ragnar. I'll start watching The Slap.
Open up, the first shot we see of the episode is Ragnar dripping in blood out of his pee hole. It's not a very happy situation for Ragnar. He's not in good shape. He's having
that's tough. And he's having a tough time getting it out too.
Well, maybe he's got a few kidney stones.
Yeah, he is. There's some blockage. There's some sort of blockage going on in Ragnar.
He's got a couple of really bad kidney stones. You know, he'll pass them. He's going to be fine.
Don't worry, Peter. King blood's just a good sign. He's working out the bad stuff. He's just
there's a lot of things that can make you pee blood after a fall like that for a couple of days. Not all of them are going to kill you.
I don't know. Check his diet.
No, right. You know, he's a Viking. He might be eating glass or something. Who knows?
Silent Fox Photo says it was bad enough to see Sigfried die, but what a way to cheat the executioner. It was hoping he'd team up with Ragnar, do a Han Solo and Chewbacca. Yeah, they would have been a great team. But the minute he was introduced, the minute we saw that character, if I want to rewind time, I think we said, this guy's the next dead guy. Because every time they introduce one of these giant bull from Night Court type character,
they kill him.
He's going to die in 2 seconds. The guy is not long for this world. They kill him.
Tell me he didn't go out with a bang, though, right? God. I laughed harder than him.
That was one of the best ways of dealing with an execution. Dr. Campbell, I'm CIA, says killing Ned Stark equals killing of one of the best actors. Him and Mark Addy as Robert. Yeah, it was get rid of both of those.
I love Mark Addy.
Yeah, but maybe it was all about contract. Okay, we only want you for 1 season. We're only going to pay you so much.
No. Well, we know with them two it wasn't. It happened. The books had to have been written like 12 years before, 15 years before. So
I know.
10 years or something. 2
very good points. Asphyxia, I'm going to do yours first. If Lagertha gets to be the main character, she's the only one I think on the show that could carry the show. I enjoy her that much. And Dr. Pavel, I'm CIA, says, Travis is going to be in a movie. He's going to be in the Warcraft movie.
They're making a Warcraft movie?
They've made it. They've been making this movie for years, Joe. It's one of these. It's like the Chinese democracy of movies. It's been made for the last like 10 years.
How do you make this movie? How do you make that a movie? It's going to be as awful as Mortal Kombat the movie.
It's going to be pretty.
Or Street Fighter.
I'm sure it will be worse than those, Joe. So Ragnar's having a really tough time pissing, and he's looking at a few smiles as he's seeing the men eat, and as he's feeling like shit.
Oh, they're not eating; they're like throwing like dirty, rotten food on the ground off their plate. Like this, they have no fresh food. All the meat is starting to spoil.
They have no supplies.
They have no supplies, and all they have basically to get them through is what they were hoping to be in the city by now and eating the food that's already in Paris.
Exactly,
and there's no food in the countryside here. It's all been. Yeah.
They've already hunted everything and eaten it.
So
it was probably already taken into the castle before they landed anyway.
So Floki, he comes over to where Floki's standing, who asks him if Bjorn's doing better, or how's Bjorn doing, and Ragnar says better. Floki said he did all he could do to make sure that they'd succeed. He even killed Applesauce. Ragnar gives him that FU look, just doesn't really say anything. It was Ragnar's big move, just looking at him. And he goes, well, they'll try again tonight. And he walks off as Floki does does the monkey.
Starts smacking him himself in the head, right?
Back of the head. So we go to the nighttime, and it's Lagertha with her small Viking ninja attack squad as they swim down the river, and we get a shot of some French soldiers looking at them as they swim down. Lagertha climbs up, and we do some infiltrating the base stealth style. Take out a few here, take out a few there. And Lagertha's she's such a badass in this scene. And it's interesting to show the Vikings and what made them, and another historically accurate thing, if one tactic didn't work, they weren't just, let's just bash through walls. This is all we know. If one tactic didn't work, you don't give up. You try different battle tactics. And in the immediate thrust didn't work, so try something more stealth. And I thought this was a very good plan that almost ended up working. And
there's only one tactic that I liked in the entire show.
Which was that?
And that was when the guy who's about to be executed pulls his head back just before he goes to have his head chopped off. And how amusing he found that. Yeah. To me, that was the best tactic.
And I'm not sure none of the tactics worked either. Like, they did get over the wall.
No, they did. They did. It would have worked.
Get through the gate.
It would have worked from what I tend to agree with. I mean, even Odo said that at one point when he was talking to the king and the princess, that I don't just want to make a deal with them because of the sickness and because of everything. I want to get through. They're going to get through with people. They got people like Rolo out there. He's running around there without a shirt on, without a shield.
Yeah, basically they say we have 20 or 30 dead guys in this hallway, and that are Viking, and like 70 or 80 in this hallway that are French people. This is 2-to-1 is not good.
No, maybe even worse. Maybe even at some point seems like worse odds in this. Ren says Lagertha and Ragnar are the whole show to me. Rachel says I love Lagertha, but it wouldn't be the same without Ragnar. I agree. Yeah. Dr. Pavel MCAA says, "Oh God, what happens if Aslog has to carry the show?" Oh no, thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm not watching Aslog carry anything.
Yeah, that's what Rachel said. Might as well say the show's over if she's carrying it. Asphyxia says I agree, but I feel in the show, Ragnar's story has to come to an end. I don't see him surviving this, but that just doesn't mean he's actually going to die. Wait, I'm going to read that again. I don't see him surviving this, but that doesn't mean he's actually going to die. Very interesting way of saying it. Dr. Pavel also says she had a nice little bitchiness going on this night, sort of a Cersei from Game of Thrones thing going on. The princess. Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, she killed him, bringing me his head.
Yeah.
So they take out a few here. Lagertha is just a badass in the scene, sneaking up, doing different tactics than we've seen before, cutting throats and making her way to the gate. She's stabbing someone and till someone lights the fire and the bells ring as they're just taking out soldiers left and right, this team of ninjas. But then there's a guy who's looking from down below.
Those are called murder holes.
Yeah, the murder hole. And he pours. There's my Boston accent coming out. He pours. Oil. He pours the oil down the hole. And I got scared for a second. I thought he was going to... Am I a horrible person that I was thankful that some other girl was burning and not Lagertha?
No, of course we're thankful for that.
That make me a horrible person. I was like,
no.
Thanks,
Phil, here's the thing. When we're raiding Paris and they drop oil on some schmuck next to you, I'm going to be happy it's them burning, not you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. They may be my ally and my cohort, my comrade, but it's not me, and it's not you, and it's hopefully not Larry. If it's like some schmuck that's from not Kattegat, that's fine. Who cares? Let it burn.
Asphyxia says, I told you guys that in Clive's contract, Rolo, that it says, okay, you'll be shirtless 90% of the time.
Does it say for the other 10% of the time he's pantless too? Because I'm sure we'd all love to see that.
I know. Again, people are wishing the show was on HBO for many different reasons.
See what that axe handle's really made of.
So as the oil just so as the oil just misses Lagertha and hits the other girl, the whole world has a collective sigh of relief as we go off to another amazing badass. I'd say this princess reminded me a little bit of Cersei's badassness, but she's definitely more capable, and she just has another really capable character here off to the French princess, who's just a badass, who's giving all the knives to the sisters, saying the Antichrist and the devils are here, just like Cersei, who's gonna poison her kids. I'm gonna kill yourselves if the Vikings make it in here. And total badass move by this princess. So the small team.
And not the only woman who's a badass. Very unusual. Usually you have a series. You have one woman that's a badass. You've got a French woman. You've got an English queen.
Yep. And
I was thinking, okay, the French woman I don't feel like is a badass. A little bit, yeah. She could talk up to daddy, and I still.
She's smart.
She's
cunning and
she's smart and cunning. I don't want to call her a badass. I want to call her a stuck-up little douche.
No, she's badass.
She's a badass. I'm with Larry on this one.
And she knows it. She knows
it. Of course she knows it. Who's
it.
Going to tell Princess fucking douchey that
she saved the castle. She saved the castle.
I agree with you.
Once Rolo gets his hands on her, she's gonna melt in his arms.
I don't know.
So anyway, Silent Fox says the girls did girly swim before they went ninja. That made me laugh.
Yeah.
Rachel says I was thinking the same thing as me. I love when people think the same thing as me. Dr. Pavel said, I love how they were like, Rolo, deal with this. And he's just like, wreck shit, Hulk, smash, Rolo, smash.
Yep.
Yeah, Rolo, smash. Oh, it's fun stuff. So yeah, the team's getting taken out, and Lagertha just is throwing fire and lighting up. She decides, F this, I see where the oil is. I'm going to throw the fire at the door, and she kind of burns a hole in the wooden door so the other Vikings can get in. We flash over to Ragnar at a distance, who watches, and he gets that feeling so expressive in his looks. He doesn't have to say anything. The look that he thinks that this might work.
Face.
Yeah, he makes great face. That it might work. This might freaking work. Vaughn says, welcome, Vaughn. She's like Cersei, except she's actually smart and competent. Good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So we see the burning doors. The Viking crew charges through the flame and into the tunnel, and our big giant Viking Earl Sigfried grabs the Wanderer and goes, "You're going to be my shield," and just grabs him and takes him with him. And this is where the French pull out this.
No, he doesn't say you're going to be my shield. You're going to be our map through the city. That's
map.
That's the Wanderer that he grabs.
Yeah, he knows the way through the city.
Because he's been to Paris before. He speaks the language and all that shit. So he wasn't going to let him sneak out the back.
Yeah, he said,
get away from the battle.
You know what? I thought he was just grabbing him and saying, "You're going to be my shield." And
you're going to be my map. You're going to be our map through the city, so we know where to go from.
I missed that.
We don't want to go loot the slums. We want to go loot the rich people.
Vaughn says, and her father ain't Tywin. He's Titos, mixed with a little bit of Joffrey.
Yeah.
So,
I think he's mixed with a lot of Joffrey.
A lot of Joffrey.
Yeah.
Or that's yet to be seen if he has the.
Yeah, he just looks kind of slow. He just seemed kind of slow in that first episode, but now he just seems
cowery.
I don't want his response was right. I'm going to take both of you into advisement, but shut the fuck up. It's my,
No, I see what you're saying, but when the look that the princess gave him at that point, he's just stalling for time. He knew, everybody in that room knew he was gonna make peace because he was a coward. And I'm
not Charlemagne.
Right, he's just stalling for time to save a little bit of face.
I'm not even going to go out there and show my face in front of the troops. I'm not Charlemagne.
And he's got deer in the headlights eyes if I've ever seen them in my life. He's just
there's 120 or 180 or something like that Viking ships at your front door. 5,000.
I know, but his daughter's a badass and out there wanting to fight Rolo. She's like, "I'll take this motherfucker." I mean, she doesn't care.
That's because she's never seen anything like this before. He at least has probably been places where he's seen sieges or seen what war can do at times. I don't think she has. I don't think she necessarily. I mean, she's seeing it now and it's not phasing her much at all either. So.
Renwood, you were 100% right. You guys, and even before the show started, I have to say, Silent Fox and Ren and someone else. If I could scroll to the top, I'm forgetting your name right now but you guys were all in here talking early, and you guys have gotten this chat room off really crazy night. Great job tonight, sharing your thoughts. I'm like, forget about going down the episode. Let's just talk through the chat room about the episode. But you guys are doing really awesome, and this is where the crazy freaking. Do we have a name for this? The spiked wheel of death.
That sounds good to me.
Is that good? Can we go with that? Can we go?
I've never seen anything like this or heard of anything like this used in castle siege defense. I watch a lot of that kind of like history, castle defense.
Yeah, I went to like a torture instrument museum in San Diego, so I've done a little bit of and I've never seen something exactly like this too. I'm wondering if it's historically accurate or television.
I've seen movies though where on the battlefields, movies like Spartacus maybe, they're not just throwing down flaming balls of hay down upon the enemy troops, rolling them down the hills. But that's throwing down, spiked balls. I've seen things like that in movies.
Flaming balls
from those times.
We're talking about Ragnar trying to take a piss.
Yes, but even with those spikes, I've seen things like that in movies that have ancient battles. I can see that in a castle. Absolutely.
I thought was weird is we didn't see the tracks for this thing until they brought out this thing.
Yeah.
It seemed like all of a sudden the tracks for it appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know where the tracks came from. They looked like they just appeared out of nowhere.
Right, because it looked like everybody was running up the hall. There was nothing in their way, nothing at knee or shin height. And then all of a sudden, we've seen them look up this hall a dozen times. Even last week they were in this hall running up the hall.
That Lagertha almost got killed in last week.
Right. And now all of a sudden when this barrel came out, these tracks are down the middle of the hall. And I was like, where the fuck did that shit come from? It just seemed like a weird cut and a weird edit to me, but it didn't bring me out of the show at all. So.
The chat room's gone dirty. I'd like to see. Asphyxia says, "I'd like to see the princess trying to tame Rolo and Rolo trying to tame her. Be so entertaining." Dr. Pavel says, "Oh man, the BDSM action between Rolo and the princess would be interesting." Asphyxia says, "Well, now I really wish Vikings was on HBO."
It's not BDSM. It's BDVM. Viking masochism.
Viking masochism. So okay, so Odo pulls it back, throws this crazy spike wheel of death thing down the hallway, and it just tramples people, and Odo pulls it back and attacks them again. Floki finds a safe spot, and him and Rolo just go into badass mode, especially Rolo, but he goes into like super badass mood.
Oh yeah, he spikes it, he stops it he sees that it's starting to be pulled back.
Yep.
And he spikes it so it can't be moved.
And they're like, these
spikes, the tools they use to pry open the doors.
Are you telling me these animals can learn? It's just the looks that they're getting. Oh my gosh. As Rolo jumps over it himself, Floki tosses him a spear, and he just breaks the chain of it, and they just let it sit there, and they start charging the hallway. As Odo looks down and really impressed of what just happened. Floki's happy, and the music builds up as the princess is watching Rolo fight, and she's not going to leave, but the Vikings are starting to win. So a guy comes in and escorts her out of there.
Yeah, and I got to say too that this more comments about the rolling barrel.
Just one quick second before you say that. Claudio Sila says the rolling barrel is most likely not historically accurate, but it worked for the show. Dr. Pavel says History Channel hasn't been historically accurate for a while.
Yeah, and I don't see how you get to use this thing more than once, because you let it go and it rolls all the way down, okay? And now they're like, pull it back. Why did they even jump over it? Let's just walk up behind it, and when they let go of it again, put your hands on it and don't let it roll back. Like, they could have followed this thing all the way up the hallway with all 200 men packed in this hallway.
Be safe.
And been safe from any bolts or arrows, and not let anybody get close enough with. Yeah, it's a big shield in the middle of the fucking hallway.
Let them roll it back. Just go back with it.
Yeah.
And then spike it.
But instead, they jumped over it, spiked it, and then did hand-to-hand combat and got beat off out of the place. You know?
They got beat off
out of the place, you know?
They could have been fighting in the castle itself instead of
right. They could have followed that barrel all the way up the hallway and then like done something with it at the top instead. But if you're all up against it, it can't get any momentum when they let go of it, and it's not going to roll over you.
In the heat of battle, you're not always thinking of the best thing to do at the time. You're just going to react sometimes.
Well, that gets you killed.
You know, it's not like they were master tacticians.
No.
And in the heat of battle, you're doing the first thing that you can do to stop something that just killed a lot of people.
But that was the first thing I thought, and I was in the heat of battle with them.
Well, you're a Viking.
That's
right. Joe is a Viking.
No, you're not a Viking. You're not a Viking.
No, I'm even better.
So we see Paris we come back from the commercial break, and we see Paris at a great distance. I do have to say one thing I did not like about this episode, and this isn't a Vikings television show thing, maybe it's a History Channel thing. The times that they chose to do commercial breaks kind of irked me a little bit, because it took me out of the moment a couple of times, especially when Ragnar was going through his vision stuff, and they like cut commercial at a really awkward fucking time. There was a couple of times where they cut it at weird times, and I might be repeating with someone. I read someone else said this, but I feel like that's a weird thing on History Channel, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just a one minor criticism that I have on the episode that has. I just feel like in this episode specifically, the times that they picked to cut commercial kind of bothered me a little bit. Right.
That's usually one of the things that bothers me a lot.
Yeah. So we see Paris at a great distance. Ragnar's throwing up, and he's in really bad shape. I wrote he looks like he's about to die. We talked a lot about this last week on what could this possibly be. I think they're leading so much to Ragnar dying that he couldn't possibly die, and I tend to believe what a lot of people do, that they can't. I couldn't see them carrying on the show without Ragnar. He's so much of a face of the show. But the story's telling me he dies. Like everything I'm looking at him and the way he's,
and that's why, and that's what's telling me he's not going to die.
Asphyxia says, I agree with you, Joe. Asphyxia says Rolo should totally lead more. He's great when he's not whining about being in Ragnar's shadow.
Isn't he? Right? That's totally true.
Silent Fox photo said, good point, Joe. No leadership in the front lines. No Ragnar, even Bjorn Borg would have thought better on his feet, or thought on his feet better. Dr. Pavel, every 5 minutes there's a commercial. Pawn Stars coming out next. Yeah, exactly. It's like right near the middle. You're suddenly you see Rick's face, or you're like, come on, coming down to Pawn Stars. I'm Chun Li. It's just freaking awful. Not that I have anything wrong against Ponson. I just don't want to. I don't want to think about that when I'm.
Chumley takes you out of the Viking mood.
Yeah, he totally takes you right out of the Viking mode. So yes. And Dr. Pavel says, I really liked Floki and Rolo's friendship much better than in season 1. Ragnar is happy about looks happy, but he, it seems like he's dying, but he has been shown to have extraordinary powers of healing before in the past. So I could very much see him coming back. So back to the battle, and the Vikings are starting to push and push and push. And we see Lagertha, and she again is just totally unbelievably wrecking people. And Rolo too. Her and Rolo are doing the most damage. They are seriously knocking down with most of them. But there are so many French people piling into this place.
I love how Lagertha hid for a few seconds before everything happened. She hid in the corner when she saw the fire was coming too. She was smart enough to know, oh shit, something's about to come through that fucking hole.
Jojo Mopete says, I watch on historychannel.com and there's hardly any commercials. Lucky. And this Fixie says, now I'm glad I live in Italy and watch the episode online. Yeah, you are. Anyone who watches this, or I'm not condoning the activity, streams it online, not a non-legal ways, and you're avoiding the commercials of this show. I enjoy, and I got into the show not when it first started. This is the first season I've actually watched on History Channel, not on Amazon Instant, I believe it's on, that I watched the first 2 seasons. So dealing with commercials is my God.
One thing I want to point out though, okay, first of all, excuse me for getting up, but that was my wife. My wife happened to be calling me on the phone. She's tuned in tonight, and she just wanted to mention that at that point that the Vikings were coming up the hallway and they were meeting that rolling spikes of death. They actually, even if they got by that, they wouldn't have been in the castle yet, because of the way that they were constructed, that they were only getting through the inner wall. There was an outer wall, then there was passageways, and then there was an inner wall, and then you had part of the town.
100%.
Even before you got into the castle itself, you had to get through so many walls and areas, and even part of the town.
This isn't
itself.
just a castle. This is the whole city.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. Thank you, Kathy Dirtylockz.
So they're not even getting into the castle here. They still probably have to a mile through the town to get to the castle.
That connects to what Athelstan was saying about it being so impregnable, and it's such a hard place to get into.
Hey, you give me 10 good men and some climbing shoes, I'll impregnate the bitch.
Yep, exactly. It's just like the Aerie. So back to the battle. They're starting to push through. We do see Lagertha. She's total badass. Then we cut to all the Paris people hiding, and Odo goes to the king. He says, you need to come outside with me and come with the people. They might come through, and we need your help. And he says, well, what help can I offer with eyes like this? What help can I offer that the Holy Mother can't? And Odo says, if you walk amongst the people, they'll believe, and they'll be brought.
Rally the fucking troops, asshole. Stop being a fucking sissy boy and get your ass out there. Put on some fucking armor and man the fuck up, King Pussy Pants.
It's so funny, Joe. If I could show you my notes right now, I almost want to take the camera and put it on my notes to show you what I referred to the king in the next line. It says, King Pussy Pants says don't the man find courage looking at you, Odo? And he goes, well, you're their commander. And he goes,
not the same.
You're their emperor. I'm just their commander. Odo begins to begging him, and he goes, listen, you have to come out with me. Come on, dude. What's up? And I didn't think you were this much of a coward. I didn't think it would come to this. I thought you would actually see this, and you would rise up and know what you have to do for your people. And you're no Charlemagne. You're no Charlemagne. Your granddad would do this. Yeah. Or he says your granddad would do this, and he stops and turns him and goes, you're right, I'm no Charlemagne.
And he says something too like, unlucky for you, I'm not Charlemagne. Or lucky for you, I'm not Charlemagne. One or the other, alluding to the fact that I might kill you for that.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're king,
if you said that to Charlemagne, he would have killed you for that.
But if you're King Pussy Pants right here, don't you kill him? Don't you have to kill him right there?
No, because he can still be your savior.
Okay, fair enough.
You can kill him anytime you want, but he still serves a purpose. You can still have him killed at any time. Sorry, Joe.
Here we go. Joe, do you have the chat room open? Joe, do you have the chat room open?
I do.
Could you read Jeffrey's comment?
Barbican. A barbican is a fortified outpost or gateway. Usually barbicans were situated outside the main line of defenses and connected to the city walls, with a walled road called a neck.
Thank you. I just didn't want to horribly mispronounce that word. I'd rather have you do it and
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for that information. That's really awesome information.
That's Jeffrey 189-30576.
576. Good job, Joe. Ren
and I want to thank my wife for initially mentioning it so that Jeffrey could have called in with that.
Exactly. We want to definitely send a big thank you out to Kathy Dirtylockz out there watching us. Thank you so much. That's Joe's last name here. So Mama Dirtylockz, however, whichever. Ren asked, "What's up with the tunnel? Is it over a river or something?" Ren, thanks, Jeff. Silent Fox Photo says Paris was refortified by the Romans after Boudica put up London to torch the Icenia rebellion. Ooh, I was talking about this with somebody in
say that again.
The chats. What's really awesome, you can read the comment, read Silent Foxes, so I don't kill those names. What I love about Vikings, and yes, it's on History Channel, but it forces you to wanna learn more about the history to understand things better, and it walks that balance. Maybe it's not completely historically accurate, but it makes you want to learn about what the actual history is, and they make it extremely entertaining.
Yeah. It's worth it to mention too that Charlemagne had also fortified the coast of France after the Vikings started raiding in Franca, before they even thought about going up the river, before they even found London, or not London, but before they even found England. So there was defenses, but by this point, those defenses had largely just fallen to waste. Charlemagne's gone, and they worked for quite a while against the Vikings, and that's why they were looking also for new lands, easier places to raid, which led them to England. One of the things that we hear the king say in the previous episode was part of Paris's defense along that river is there are cities and towns along the way, small towns or villages, and other areas that was supposed to send forces should something like this happen. But they were all like, fuck that. There's 100 and something ships with 5,000 crazy fucking huge ass Norse fucking Vikings. I'm not going anywhere near those dragon boats. Are you kidding me?
Vaughn says the weak king and the princess relationship is kind of like the weak prince on Braveheart and his wife that screwed William Wallace. The wife that screwed William Wallace reminds me a lot of the French
queen. Yeah, and of course she was French also.
I definitely see that. I definitely see that parallel. Ren Roman said Tyrion told Joffrey the same thing during the Battle of Blackwater. Odo's about to say, "Fuck the king."
Yep.
Rachel says, I hope he does. I'm hoping Odo goes full the hound on the king. Me too. I was hoping he was going to bitch slap him a little bit.
Odo's basically telling him to do exactly what Princess did last week.
Exactly.
Go rally the fucking troops. Get your face out there. You're not really in that much danger. You're going to be behind 100 fucking men, and you could still run then. If they start getting through those men.
So Odo thought he'd come out and no, and he ends up running out and leaving there. Cut back to the battle where we see more of Kalf, Rolo, and Lagertha, and the new giant Viking, Earl Sigfried, kicking some ass, and Floki too. Floki's doing well as well, but Paris is holding. There's just so many men in such a small area, and they're just blocking their advancement. They just can't get through. Over to Odo trying to do his best, but you can tell Did
the Vikings ever finally make it in there historically, other than in the movie?
They've raided it twice.
They've raided it twice?
Yeah, the first time it might have been that they just had it under siege for long enough where the king paid off a ransom. Then they come back again, like a few years later, and say, "We want more," and the king says, "Okay."
Give me more, so much.
Oh, so they didn't raid. They never really actually went in there.
I think the second time they actually get in and start and cause damage to Paris itself.
Well, not to the point where they destroy it, obviously.
Mm-hmm. to that
So
point.
they go over to Odo, and he's trying to do his best. But you can tell he's pissed. They all gather together. They try to protect the city. It's a full-on battle and in close combat. Lagertha's the MVP, but Floki's doing well too, and superhero Rolo's just going all Thor on people. They're kicking ass, but they can't get through. So Floki yells down to Rolo, we can't break through. We can't break through. So they yell, fall back, and Lagertha looks really upset that they're leaving. Do you think they left too soon, or did they leave at the exact right time?
I think they left. I wasn't upset with the fact that they retreated. I was kind of like, again, it comes down to that fucking barrel in the passageway. Why are they having such a hard time getting over it? And the bodies are starting to pile up in front of it because they're just lobbing arrows over everybody in the hallway instead of just mowing down arrows. At some point, you got to say, all right, shoot the arrows at our own guys too, just like King Crazy Fuck in William Wallace did.
Welcome, Asia or Zero Asia 22. These battles without Ragnar's leadership seem somewhat sort of a waste. I agree that he is having him not at the helm of any of these attacks on Paris seems a little weird, and who knows how these attacks would go with his actual leadership. He's shown to be very cunning in battle and be every bit the warrior that someone like Rolo is too. So you have two of those people on the battlefield that can make a big difference. One, especially when they've been so close a couple of times here. So but yeah, they're kicking ass. They have to fall back as they're trying. Lagertha's not happy. She does not like this shit. But they're still killing people. But they're escaping, and Rolo kills like a bunch of people before he jumps over the drawbridge as it's being put back up. But a few people are left in that are getting killed. One of them is Earl Sigfried, and the other is the Wanderer. And the Wanderer speaks the French language and says, "Don't kill me. I'm different than the rest." And they go to kill Earl Sigfried. Odo's about to bring him down, and he goes, "No. He's an important man. He's an Earl. We should capture him." So then we cut back to Ragnar, and here's where we get into our Ragnar vision. We see he sees Athelstan, who holds out his hand for him. We get a shot of Jesus. We get a shot of Odin. We've seen this before. It's been a while since Ragnar has had this vision of Odin before, but we have seen this vision before. I believe it was in season 1, one of the first things we've seen from Ragnar is him seeing this specific type of image of Odin. Then we see him falling down the ground, curled up into a puddle, and we see himself looking at himself as he's reaching out for Athelstan's hand. He's about to touch Athelstan's hand, and then it just all flashes red, and he says, "Don't abandon me." Then the creature gets off the horse and looks down at him, and we see another flash of blood, him looking at himself, down at himself with shame, and then he's looking at himself again, and then we cut to commercial break, and we find out that Pawn Stars is on at 11.
Well, didn't he? Was that the point at which he crawls into the puddle too?
Yes, he crawls in the puddle
and like curls up into a fetal ball, into a puddle of blood, bloody water.
Yep, that is all this section, and it just, to me, this is the one that messed me up with the commercial break, because it cut in the middle of all of this quickly to a commercial. Asphyxia says they can't lose too many of their own. If they see that this strategy isn't working, leave and try again another day. That's the best option.
Yep.
Claudio says, agreed. They just need to keep them under siege and starve them out. Seems like they're rushing to take Paris instead of being a little bit.
They're going to starve themselves out too, though. And then you got to remember too, there's all sorts of like dysentery shit that goes on in your camp when you're trying to siege a city and you're not going anywhere. It does work for them that they're on a river to flush away a lot of the fucking waste that they're producing. You gotta remember, it's 6,000 men camped right outside the gate there.
You have to figure how used are the Vikings actually to laying anything to siege. They're the type of people that would go in, destroy a town, destroy a village, go in and get out, loot it, kill everybody, take slaves, and get out. Now they find themselves in a prolonged siege, and they have to think about being resupplied. Now they have to think about waste disposal. They have to think about latrines, fresh water, feeding themselves. Have the forest been depleted just before the siege happened of all game and food? Have all the farmers ripped everything out and run into the city with it? There's nothing left for the Vikings to eat, even in vegetation. So
Great point in that sense, because until now we've seen them at their best when they're front runners, like a team that's like a football team or a soccer team or whatever, that's kicking ass and beating their opponents down. But then when they finally get pushed back, it's seeing how they're reacting in this situation, having to not just walk over their enemy quite easily. And this is the first opponent that we've seen them have to do something like this to, at least that we've seen on the show.
And do they have that proper knowledge on how to keep a siege?
Exactly. They're learning as they're going. Asphyxia says, the fetal position in the puddle of blood reminds me of childbirth.
That's Renwood.
Renwood, I'm sorry, said that. And Asphyxia says that scene reminded me of Born Again. Ragnar sees Athelstan in the light. He can't hear his voice, but he knows what Athelstan is saying. Like when he's in a pool of blood, it kind of looks like a baby. Yeah, exact, totally like that. And it was
which would go to the whole reborn thing, right? He's being reborn a Christian kind of because Odin's not taking him. Christ can't take him yet. He can't be with applesauce yet.
Applesauce anymore. You can't I've heard someone else said, and I think they told us this in the chat room. I was reading some message board about Vikings, and they call him Apple Stand.
Yeah.
Apple Stand. Yeah. So in the King's throne room, we see they have the Wanderer, and he's brought in, and the Earl's brought in as well. The Wanderer talks and says, basically explains that no nation's my enemy. I'm a man of the world. And the Wanderer said, and the King's like, oh, you might be useful. I'd love your help. And he's like, yes, I don't belong anywhere. I'd love to help you. And they ask who the giant is, and they say it's Earl Sigfried. And Odo steps up and he goes, I want to know about another guy. Who was that badass with his shirt off? He looked great. He took out the spike machine. He was glowing he was glistening in the sun. And the Wanderer says he's a famous badass named Rolo. He's King Ragnar's brother, and he fights like a crazy bear.
Yep.
So there it is. As many people have said, we've got our bear reference from our prophecy from the seer earlier in the season. It's come full circle. And you could even think that both things happened tonight, where we got a lot of mention of the sickness as we eventually get to here.
See, I have to watch that again, because I thought Ragnar was referred to as the bear.
No, he said he is a famous warrior, and he fights like a crazy bear. He goes, he's Ragnar's brother, a famous warrior in his own right, and he fights like a crazy bear. He was talking about Ragnar. I mean, he was talking about Rolo.
No, I like I said, I have to watch it again because I really thought, and I was like, oh wow, did they just refer to Ragnar as a bear? I really have to watch that again.
It's phrased where the way he phrases it, he says it like he could have been talking about Ragnar, but I watched it a couple of times, and he's definitely talking about Rolo. He's referring to Rolo in that situation. Dr. Pavel says the applesauce fans were really happy in this episode. Yeah, they got to see him glowing in all his beauty. Silent Fox photos. Every time I see the Wanderer in the corner of the shot, I keep thinking, who's that ugly woman? Applesauce. Katie says, welcome, Katie. Welcome, Asia. Katie also says, oh my God, Silent Fox photos. I do. Spixie says, oh yeah, Dr. Pavel. It's totally canon now. Yep, Applesauce is totally canon now. That's his name. So Odo says the princess that this Wanderer will be useful. And the princess says, what about this Earl? Odo says maybe he'll be good for bargaining, good to trade, good for just whatever purpose.
Which makes a good point, but the princess's point is even better. If this is such an important man, but not the king, or not all that important, even better if it was Ragnar, but and as important as he is, even more of a reason to put this motherfucker's head on a spike and show it to all your people, and then put it on the wall for everybody outside the gate to see. This is what we do to you.
So you think she made the right decision?
Absolutely. There's nothing that you're going to be able to barter with that guy's life. Who is that guy? What? Oh, he's an Earl? Big deal. Kill him.
ACS says the seers
don't have a long life anyway. We've already seen that. They come and go.
Yeah, they're not long for this world, for sure. Oh my God. Oh yeah, sorry. I've got a couple of comments. The seer told Ragnar that the bear will marry a princess, and Ragnar will not be too happy about it. So yeah, maybe I think who knows if that girl's gonna warm up to her future Viking husband that we all know is gonna happen.
Well, so a princess will marry a bear, and Ragnar won't be too happy about it. Ragnar hasn't been too happy with very many of his wives. So what do we? Why would we think that's any different?
Very good point. So, okay, well, we got to talk about this because people in the chat room were talking about it. So I'm gonna yada some of this because I didn't mind. I hate to say this, Joe, and I'm gonna say it, but I'll admit it. I enjoyed the Aslog stuff more than the Wessex stuff tonight. I could have done.
Oh, the Wessex stuff. I wish we had none of. We did not need any of that whatsoever.
Couldn't we been done with Wessex for the rest of the season?
I think we could have. We did not need any of that after they killed the villagers and maybe took what's her name's ear. We don't need any of that stuff.
And especially like I could have understood if they had one scene of it, like the scene where ultimately tells her, I want you to be my mistress. But we didn't need to see Athelwulf or whatever his name is come back and see that. That could have at least been put off till next season.
And here's the thing. As this is a show about Vikings and that's our story, what are they going to start showing us shit in Paris now after they leave Paris? Who cares? The Vikings aren't witnessing any of that. When they get back there, they don't give a shit what happened in the last 3 years. They want more money, more land, more loot, and that's it. More death and carnage. Who the fuck cares?
I agree with you 100%, Joe. Katie says, first time I saw the Wanderer, I thought it was a woman. Christopher says, well, Christopher, I believe the flag the princess was using is Charlemagne's personal standard, hence it's symbolic, meaning the soldiers. Phil says, Dr. Pavel says, Athelnar, that is what the name of the Athelstan Ragnar romantic relationship shippers call him. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I messed up on that one. Dr. Pavel, MCA. Ragglestan. I like Ragglestan. In the Raggle sauce. In actual life, Rolo treated the princess horribly, so I really hope they ignore that. I think they'll ignore that too. They'll romanticize it like they have in so many television shows and movies. I was like, oh, Wessex is still here? I'm okay. Carl says Phil and Joe have shaved their faces today. Yes, we have. Just a funny coincidence. But come on, Joe. I mean, I could just deal with them skipping Wessex altogether now and just having a spin-off series called The Wessex Diaries.
Is the son going to end up killing his father? Yes or no?
I think it will be the other way around. I think the father ends up killing the son.
You know what? I don't give a fuck unless the Vikings are there. Like seriously, I can't stress enough how unimportant any of that is to the Viking story right now.
Well, how much in history do the Viking influence actually have?
Huge,
in England?
Huge,
of course.
Right, but that's not what's going on. They're not influencing that shit. That's Charlemagne, dick sucker there.
I know.
Trying to fuck his son's wife. Who cares if he's trying to fuck his son's wife?
Just part of the story.
I think I would rather see 30 more axe blows. I would rather see 7 more Vikings get thrown off the wall. I would rather see Floki going like this from a tower for 5 minutes than see any of that.
I feel similar to the way you do, but I do care about the Wessex stuff. I just don't think it has any place in what we're doing right now. I care about it. I think Ecbert is a great villain. I agree. Excellent.
It could be a series in itself, almost.
Like I said, I don't care about it unless the Vikings are there.
Right. And I want to see Ragnar dealing with his deceit and see their further relationship. I just think in this episode tonight it wasn't needed. I don't want to make it seem like I don't like the Wessex stuff. Right. I wasn't kidding when I said I could watch a whole spin-off series.
Yes, but we don't know how much in the future, whatever is happening with this Wessex stuff, at some point, what is happening there in the Wessex stuff is going to influence how they treat the Vikings,
and that's fine.
Fair enough. So I think what the producers and the directors are doing is showing us this is what is happening in Essex, and what you're seeing now will influence the future, and this is how the future is going to be influenced because what we're watching now.
I don't think we need to see any of that when they get back. Like the Vikings aren't seeing any of that. They're in Paris. They're not.
No, but we are.
But I hear. When I get back, they're not going to know any of. How did we get to this point where this person's in charge of that? We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need it. We just don't need it. When they get back, they're gonna.
Fair to other people's opinions. Dr. Pavel says, "I still care about Ecbert. Holy crap, that was awesome." Rachel says, "Unless they're setting up Ecbert to get rid of his son, like Larry was saying. Otherwise, I agree. Could have done without the Wessex stuff tonight." Dr. Pavel says, "I'm still confused as to what the King Ailey is going to do. Will he make an alliance with Horik's son?" That's very interesting to think about. Horik's son, I have a feeling, is going to become bigger next season. Christopher says they could be setting up for another future civil war involving the Vikings in England. Asphyxia says, fun fact, Historically, the king demanded Rolo to bend his knee and kiss his foot, but Rolo just took the king's foot and lifted it to his face to kiss it, and the king actually fell on his ass. Asia says it's funny how Ecbert and the earless girl care more about Athelstan's kid than the one that they have blood with, and than the one that the king has blood with. I like Ecbert, but this whole Judith Ecbert crap can be done, says Rachel. Spixie says probably that didn't really happen, but we have at least 2 sources that tell that story. Oh, definitely, I'm sick of Judith. So
but here's the thing: if we came back as the Vikings and they were like, "Oh, where's the king? Where's King Ecbert? Why are you his son in charge now?" That puts us in the same mindset as them, with a little confusion, a little excitement of what's going on.
Yeah, I don't agree with you in the sense that we should have skipped it altogether. They
could have shown it to us when
again
at a later point.
I'm just going to go as far as we didn't need 2 scenes of it. We only needed 1 scene. We didn't even check off for a second. I enjoyed the 1 scene of getting to see some of that development. I don't think we needed it in this episode, but we needed it either this week or next week. I hope it doesn't clog up too much of next week.
I think it could have been done as soon as they sacked the village of Vikings. I think we could have ended their story for now there. I do know at some point this what Ecbert's talking about, unifying England and leaving that for the future.
And that's what it's really about.
Sometimes that kind of takes root over the next like 50 to 100 years, but it just it pulls us out of the action in Paris.
Joe, I
separates us from everything that's going on.
Joe, I don't disagree with you. I just think they have so many interesting threads that this is important to stuff that we're going to see next season. So they needed to touch in on this. I just don't think we need to spend so much time there.
Like so I even thought like as much as I liked the Kattegat stuff with what was going on, it was a contrast to what was going on with Ragnar. So it was a little bit more important, and a little bit more endearing to engaging with the story than any of the stuff that's going on in Wessex.
I think Rachel has the biggest point here that needs to be made, and then we'll cut off this stuff. Ecbert just had more chemistry with Lagertha than he does with Judith. Yeah, him with Judith, I don't get it. I mean I get why he's doing it, because he wants to be in charge of this kid that's going to have a connection to Athelstan and have a connection to the kingdom that her family's in charge of, and it's part of his big plan to take over England. It obviously has something to do with that. It's not about necessarily dipping it where Athelstan's touch. Do
we know if the king of Northumbria, who is Judith's father, right? Mm-hmm. Do we know if he has any sons? If he doesn't have any sons, this is his natural heir. Right,
exactly. And that's what I think. Or
regardless of whose kid it is, Athelstan's are his sons.
Are their first kid, the Princess Judith's first child with Athelwulf, is that a boy or a girl?
They have a kid?
Yeah, I think they already have a kid.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
they absolutely. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. It's probably a girl. That would make sense to the plan. If what you said about Northumbria and the other kid, the first kid is not a son, or Ecbert's going to kill the first kid, so that kid ends up being the one that's oathed. So Rachel's Ecbert more chemistry. Christopher says it would make more sense if Ragnar had left a man or two in Ecbert's court, so we could be touching into there. So at least we had some association with the Vikings. Good, very good point, Christopher. Carl says,
yeah, but they would have just been killed too, along with the rest of the village.
Maybe not.
Not if they were in Ecbert's at his place, because he's still foeing loyalty to Ragnar a little bit.
Okay.
Carl they could be used. They could be used and conned.
Carl said Ecbert is relevant because it's the History Channel. The channel wants us to explain the historical contents of the Vikings. Dr. Pavel says, I feel bad for Athelwulf, cucked by the priest and his dad. Christopher says, in real life, Judith was the daughter of the Frankish king. Asphyxia says that they would have killed them just like the rest of the other Vikings. Yes, he is. Oh, no, Ren says the other son, the other child, the older child is male. So maybe Ecbert's going to kill his oldest grandchild.
Is that the correct use of the word cucked for cockled?
I think
not cockled, it's cucked. I like that. Okay.
Joe, I'll have to add that to my lexicon.
Yep, I'm definitely adding it to my lex. Thank you, Dr. Pavel of the CIA.
Silent Fox Photo says the priest was like some dumb rich kid backpacker. Katie says, how do you think Judith and the King of Wessex will react when they find out Applesauce is dead? We've talked about that a little bit. They're going to really freak out. You think any part of them assume or think he may be dead? They haven't mentioned anything about it.
They don't know yet.
They don't know again, and I think they're really gonna be very upset, especially Judith. I think
they would have no way of knowing. There hasn't been any Vikings who know that have come to the castle to tell them.
Yeah, so they don't know. How do I think they'll react? I think Ecbert will be. I think they'll both be very, very sad. I don't think Ecbert will do anything like seek revenge or anything like that. I think he'll mourn his loss, whereas Judith is gonna probably freak out a lot about it.
Yep.
So we go out. So anything else do we have to say about this, about the Judith and Ecbert stuff? And Athelwulf comes back, and I'm gonna yada over it when we talk.
Yeah,
about
get the whole Judith crap out of the way now.
Athelwulf comes back, and they had the most awkward dinner ever after he.
Daddy, did you send me there to try to kill me? How could you say that? So I am so hurt and ashamed.
Let's not forget the most important part of the scene, that Athelwulf says he's the only guy that's ever been able to refuse Princess Quenforth Crazy Pants. He's like, I was able to refuse the feminine vials of Crazy Pants.
Send you there for her to kill you. I sent you there so I could fuck your wife while you were gone.
I think he sent him there in the hopes that he would be killed.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Larry.
Because she was right there ready to kill him. She killed her brother openly in front of everybody, poisoned them.
He wanted her to kill him.
I think she should have killed him.
And he thought, this is the type of woman she is. She'll kill my son, and that will give me the excuse to kill her and claim her kingdom.
No, and I think you're right. And I think if she
and the kid figured out, if you kill me, my father's got an excuse to come here and kill you.
And I think a lot of the people that are keeping her propped up, because there's still probably a lot of powerful people in her area of the kingdom there that would what's Mercia who would definitely not support her if they thought it wasn't going to get them killed. So if Ecbert was to attack, she would probably lose a lot of the support, because you got to remember, she killed her uncle, she killed her brother, and these were the people in power last week.
So Dr. Pavel says,
or a couple of weeks, months ago, whatever.
Ecbert would be sad because Applesauce was a better son than his actual son. Asphyxia says Ecbert will be very upset that the tiny Viking, because that tiny Viking was his favorite toy. As Katie always likes to say, people are his toys.
Yep.
Katie, a different Katie says, King, did I say I wonder how Athelstan is? Yeah, did I say I wonder how Athelstan is? Let's talk about this Athelstan. And Katie says he'll be upset, but won't be as upset as Judith. And Katie also laughed very heavily at something you said, Joe. I'm not sure which.
I think the mock between the two, the dad and son there, that I was.
So Silent Fox says Wessex hoped his son would drink wine. Hi guys. Hey Richie, welcome Richie. Yeah, I think he had hoped. I tend to agree with, and I think what you guys were saying too, that I think he sent him there in hopes that she would take care of him, and that makes a lot more sense why he was seducing the wife and becoming the mistress while he was gone, and to take over control of what's going to happen to the kid and everything like that. But he goes on, and the son is just, yeah, they have a real awkward dinner. And I love how, as Joe was saying, when they go back and forth with their father and son, well, I didn't do it, I did it. Well, I'd never do something like that. You can just see the look on Judith's face, like, what kind of crazy assholes did I marry into here?
She's just sitting there thinking, oh my God, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Have you ever seen any kind of movie anywhere where the rulers, the kings, the queens, they're not crazy in some respect?
Yeah,
they're always crazy.
They're always crazy, and I just love the look on her face. Like, she could have invented the face palm right there. She was like, "Ah, oh, damn!" She just wanted to put it. Oh God, it was horrible.
Absolute power makes you absolutely fucking crazy.
Yep. And okay, so the Kattegat stuff, we'll yada yada through that as well. We go. Aslog is ruling, and some kids brought to her, a stranger, a Christian, a missionary. He's denouncing their gods. And she asks him if it's true, and he says, yes, I want to save your souls. Your gods are deaf, dumb, and blind. They can't save themselves. She says, I respect
but they can play pinball.
She says, I respect your Jesus, but Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball. And she says, I respect your Jesus, but Jesus isn't a god. Is there any doubt that our gods are stronger, buddy? And she's kind of playing to the crowd. They're mighty, and the crowd shares. He goes on. He says, everything about your gods are false. They're false idols. And she says, okay, you don't think so? We'll let you be judged by our God.
And what? No, they said we'll have like basically a contest of gods or something like that.
Or no, she says, I'll let you be judged by our gods and see what's what, or see who wins. It's ultimately because they're
a contest between our gods. And here, you go first.
He agrees, though.
How about you go first? How
He
about you have Odin let you carry that thing first, and then we'll see. You know why he lost that? Because she turns around and says, "See, our gods are smart enough to tell us not to grab the hot fucking iron out of the fire."
Katie says, Carol on The Walking Dead says, look at the flowers, Princess Crazy Pants, drink the wine. Dr. Pavel, I'm CIA, says, the poisoning scene was awesome. I love how nonchalant Rolo and Lagertha were when they dumped their wine out.
Yeah, everybody kind of
That was a great scene.
That was
a great scene.
Unbelievable. Christopher says,
oh, they're not drinking this. Can we get a new flask of wine, please?
I wasn't drinking any wine near her at all for a long time.
Christopher says, Judith's father throws men to the snakes. You'd think she'd be used to it. Hell, totally. And Claudia says, God Olympics. Yep, we're about to have the God Olympics. Asphyxia says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really enjoyed Aslog this episode. I was saying the same thing. I actually enjoyed the stuff in Kattegat. And I feel like the reason why the Kattegat stuff worked in this episode so well is because it was direct contrast or direct parallel to what was going on in Ragnar's mind. So it was more of that.
Killing a Christian while he's kind of becoming a Christian.
Right. You're seeing how that's starting to spread itself through the Viking world now. And I think you needed that in the association of what's to come with Ragnar by the end of the episode. So I think the Kattegat stuff worked well, and I'm hard on her when she sucks, but she was great. I thought I
don't want to say she was great. I just wasn't annoyed by the Kattegat stuff.
I actually enjoyed. I'll say I'm not great, but I actually enjoyed her tonight. I enjoyed her response in the second half of it when the guy comes in and she's taking care of the baby and he goes, "Oh, what should we do with the Christian?" And she just kind of casually goes, "Yeah, let's just kill him." I kind of like that line delivery. I like the way she was just so nonchalant. Like, of course. What are you even asking? Like, kill the motherfucker. Yep. But the best part of this whole segment is when we come back from commercial break. I got to admit, I kind of bought the fake out because of the way they shot it. They come back and you see the guy and you see what the challenge is, what the God Olympics are. They're going to bake a metal rod in fire and make it all burning and make him come over and grab it with both hands and see if his God will protect him from the God of fire. Or
Vikings. Odin lets Vikings take that rod, not just in their palms.
Oh, hey now, that's a party.
No burns, baby, no burns.
That's a party for a different. That's a different episode. That's the special Vikings Cinemax episode that you see that in. So the guy goes and he grabs
red hot poker, baby.
I don't know. We had a guy get bird wings over his shoulders that didn't cry out.
Yeah. Yep. And he grabs it, and magically, it seems. Magically, his hands are delicious. They're perfectly fine. He didn't burn. What was your thought at that moment, Joe? Did you know it was a dream at that moment or something?
No, I did not know it was like, God, I hope this is what happens. God, I hope this is what happens. Please, God, let this not burn my fucking hands off. No, it caught me, but as soon as he dropped it too, and I was like, wow, huh. I was almost like, that's fucking bullshit. I was upset.
Con man. Yeah, me too. My initial reaction.
This just turned into a Jesus commercial. I
was like, those aren't his real hands. What's he got some fake hands going on?
You know?
There's no prosthetics back then.
I was very upset actually at first, and then when it went, whoosh, and it showed him standing in front of the rod, getting pulled out of the fire again, sweating his balls off. Then I was like, yeah, that's more like it. Okay.
Dr. Pavel said.
And no, he would not have even been able. He held that frickin' thing it would have melted right through his frickin' hands. That poker.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have just burned the outside of his hands. It would have fell right through like a hot knife through butter.
So he falls to his. We cut back to
he
the.
Definitely wouldn't have been able to open his hands and drop it without you seeing his.
No, that was a TV moment for the shock value of seeing.
He wouldn't have been able to take 4 steps. You know, you ever touch a hot pan? Ah! He's gonna hold this in both palms, walk 5 steps, and just go, "Oh, it's hot." Come on,
Yeah, we've all had like a pan or
This
like a
pansy fucking priest who's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to him, which he probably kind of liked, was Monsignor beating him off in the fucking broom closet down at the frickin'
so Dr. Pavel says same, talking about Aslog. She was delightfully bitchy tonight. Katie asks, do we think we'll see Thorne again by the end of the season? I hope we see her one more time. I do. I hope. I tend to, and a couple people have said in the comments between the week that maybe she's at some other kind of agenda that we're not aware of yet. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, usually people like that come back, some kind of agenda for something to happen, for there to be a finalization.
Bjorn's girl. Dr. Pavlin.
No. I hope she's just gone. I really hope she's just gone. If we never see her again, we don't need to see her again.
Yeah,
she's gone. People leave. People don't come back.
That's true. That happens in real life. But for some reason in TV, she's got to come back and have some kind of impact. Something's got to happen.
It's like
for her to have an impact on the show.
Well, she wasn't in this episode. Let's not get on a rant about her right now.
Let me just say one thing about it. No,
what was that?
So I want to say one thing about it, comparison, if you will. In Shameless, they get rid of this character, Steve/Jimmy. They make him, he gets on a boat and he's going to be killed by his like wife's father, who's very pissed at him for some reason. And that's all we see of him. And we don't see him again until like almost, and for quite a while. And then suddenly he's back for no good fucking reason. And it's like, we didn't need to see it. I could have gone on for the rest of my life wondering, is Jimmy alive? Is Jimmy dead? I don't care. That stuff kind of happens. Where's Jimmy Hoffa? We don't see Jimmy Hoffa again after he disappears.
But I'll go to what Larry. I'll repeat what Larry just said.
TV trope. Yep.
She's coming back. And
I hope not.
She is, and it's good. She's gonna have some sort of agenda. Dr. Pavel, because I don't, and someone else said in the comments between the week, I have a feeling that she's not exactly who she said, or someone was gotten a speculation that she's maybe not who we think she is exactly.
She's not
TV characters never just disappear.
Maybe not.
They always have a finality to them in TV.
So it's Dr. Pavel says it's like Ragnar isn't even there. Aslog becomes better. Vaughn says it's funny that excuse me. It's funny that a missionary just happens to be there at the right time, right after Athelstan dies. Rachel says, I was excited by the scene because I can see the final nail in the coffin for Ragnar and Aslog pairing. Yeah, I hope they're done. I hope that relationship's over. Dr. Pavel, I'm CIA, says, the first time I heard the seer's prophecy, I thought the princess was going to be Aslog. Oh, man, I'd ship her and Rolo now. Random Renwood says, you both know how I love animals, but I always think of the name of that town as Kattegat. Vaughn says,
that's where tennis rackets were invented.
Aw. Vaughn says, I almost thought that he'd get blood-eagled. And Claude says, Jesus commercial time. Yes, if you grab that thing in No Fire. Vaughn says, yes, we got Jesus Stormborn in the show now. Asphyxia says, I laughed really loud for that priest humiliation. If there's something I hate is when people who try to impose their religion on others. I could not say that better. Rachel61 says, surprised that he held it that long as he did. Right on, Joe. Totally agree, Joe. I think you came on right as you were saying it as she was thinking it. Richie says, oh, good explanation, Richie. Richie has an explanation for it. Joe, maybe Jesus was with him. Maybe the Lord Jesus was protecting him.
Yeah. That time you only saw 2 footprints in the sand, that was when I was holding the hot poker, you fucking asshole.
Katie says, I do too. I think Bjorn will be pissed that she left.
Of course he will. You left little Siggy with the woman who left her kids off to drown in a river so she could screw Odin. Come on, of course.
So we got a few other quick ones. Carol came back in The Walking Dead, and Merle came back as well. So she must come back. Joe, I see what you're saying, and I like shows that do things like that sometimes.
Jimmy came back, yeah.
But everybody always, especially if you're a main character like that, you'll come back early. Well,
she's not a main character. She was a supporting actress. She had no story. Oh, she was a slave. She traded.
Okay. So
story over. Get rid of her. You're done. Bye. You wrote her into trash. She's trash. Get the fuck out.
No. No,
Okay.
she's back, and I guess I like her more than you do. I mean, I don't necessarily like all of her scenes, but I do think she's important to the show, and I do find her one of the she was focused on at several times in this season as one of the main 3 women that we were focusing on. So I mean, I actually give a crap on her. But okay, so we go to I mean, I don't love her shit. It's not one of my favorite things in the every episode.
Stinks.
But I think she's I give a crap more about her than I care about fucking Aslog.
You also have to remember.
I was with you there until she got all douchey.
Very, very important aspect, though, that she's got a relationship with Floki. Floki's the main character.
Yep.
Who's got a relationship? How does she have a relationship with Floki?
They all do.
Huh?
Everybody's got a certain relationship with Floki. If you notice Floki, he's watching everybody.
What's her relationship with Floki, though? They haven't had any real scenes together. Did she blow him in the fucking boat hut or something? No, we haven't seen anything with them.
Okay, then I'm thinking of someone different than you.
I think you were thinking
of Bjorn's wife.
No, I think Larry was just confusing her with Helga, I think.
I think so.
Ren says wasn't.
Sorry, yes, you're right. No, sorry for a second there. Yeah, that's what.
Oh, no worries. Believe me, we've confused. We're right about 2%.
Our facts are always 100% correct. Period. And if you don't like it, correct us in the chat.
That's Joe. Excuse me, Joe is 100% correct. I'm never.
I can go along with him. Maybe his facts are 100%. I'm not going to give him that on opinions.
So Carl says, if Bjorn becomes king, eventually his woman will be queen. Richie laughs. Katie says, yes, she was, but she left her free. If Bjorn was like Ragnar, he'll be pissed. Rest in peace, Siggy. Yeah, I really miss Siggy. Joy Buzz, welcome, Joy Buzz. I was shocked when Ragnar got baptized, but the reason Ragnar said why is understandable.
Yep.
Asphyxia says, yes, she was, but Aslog freed her. Thanks all. Floki says Floki's going to completely freak out the next episode after Ragnar got baptized. Yeah, you could see it in his eyes.
Absolutely.
Dr.
I think they're all going to freak out.
They're all going to freak. But here's the thing. I kind of said it before, and it might be kind of a spoiler, but if you look at the actual history behind all this shit, there is some truth to this plague starts breaking out on both sides of the wall, and part of the religious advice was to clean up and pray and do some weird shit. And so then they all start getting better. The plague kind of goes away, and it's kind of not blamed. I don't want to use blamed on Christianity. Mm-hmm. Christianity is the reason, according to even the Vikings that are there, that this plague might have went away. And that's one of the things that helps the stronghold. And I think what they did with Ragnar getting baptized is also gonna further that along. Yeah, look, Ragnar's been baptized. Yeah. Now our meat's not spoiled anymore. Or look, we can deer showed up again, or some weird shit. Look, we're not all pissing blood and coughing up shit anymore.
Dr. Pavel says, I didn't like that he got baptized. He'd rather go to heaven with his boy toy than Valhalla with his family and friends. And Asphyxia says, I hope so. Oh, talking about something else. Christopher says, I think Ragnar recognizes that his old ways is dying and his baptism was a public display of that. Very interesting. Okay, so let's finish up this episode. We go to Paris quickly in between scenes here, and we get Earl Sigfried being executed, but he doesn't seem to mind. Today's a good day to die, but he asks them to please hold my hair because I don't want my hair cut. It's important. So he asks a guard to come and hold his hair out of the way, and they get ready to chop his head. Odo gives him the sign to chop off his head.
Yeah, I like how he says this too. He's like, someone, I just want it to be a clean chop. My hair's going to get in the way more so than my neck, more so than my 700 pounds of neck muscle holding this freaking massive melon up for all my life.
Kind of a funny. And they did do that, and they actually did that when they did chop somebody's head off. They moved the hair out of the way.
It would make it tough to get the blade.
And they actually did that, but I love the way he kind of. I thought it was a great scene. And when he started laughing, I said to myself, he's going out with a bang.
Yeah, and I love how they flash over to the Wanderer, too, who's giggling as well. He can't help but laugh. He's just like...
I think I was laughing harder than him. I really was. Like, when he pulled his head back and that guy's hands got chopped off, just to even time it so perfectly right. Like, I thought it was brilliant. I was laughing well into the next scene.
Richie says, Joe's 100% correct all the time. If you disagree with him, it's just a knife to the back of the head.
Hey, I thought I was watching a Rob Dyrdek video.
Asphyxia says,
Yes, it belonged on Ridiculous.
67 years old, and he knows who Rob is.
Asphyxia says, I completely agree, Dr. Pavel. Ragnar chooses to be reunited with Athelstan instead of going to Valhalla with his friends and his daughter. It's not love. I don't know what is.
My wife and I watch ridiculousness all the time. Not to give them a plug, but some of the people on that show, they're so stupid. Every time we see something, it's oh no, how can they be so stupid?
Katie says, I died laughing during that scene. Totally saw it coming. Dr. Oh, okay. So Vaughn says the Wanderer laughing is what really set it off. Yeah, it really was.
Yep.
It was seeing the Wanderer's reaction that it was really pretty hilarious.
I'm surprised none of the Franks were laughing at that. Even if I was in the audience, I would have thought that was absolutely fucking hilarious.
I don't think if you're a Frank, no.
I don't think if I was the guy holding his hair, I would be laughing. I don't think if it was Phil holding the guy's hair, I'd be laughing. I don't think any
Frenchman's
but if it
laughing.
was, I would have.
No.
I absolutely would
No,
have.
you wouldn't.
I absolutely would have.
No, you
In the princess. Here, Larry, hold my hand. Phil, come over with some knives.
Yeah.
Hold my hand for a second. I'll show you if I laugh or not.
And the princess would have your head on a spike next. So our next scene, this is
That's true. That's true.
The Ecbert talking his poetry crap and yada yada yada. She goes to kiss him, and he goes, "I don't want to
kiss me. Get on the bed.
Get on the bed." Okay, so
that's
enough of that. I don't even want to talk anymore about that. So off to Siegfried's head on a spike, and the princess walking through with the stick and wounded children and stuff. Odo says we're really upset. There's so many sick people, and they got him talking. Over 200 people have got this strange disease and died. And it's a sickness coming over the people, and lots more will die, and we'll run out of food. As King Aslog is just like, but we want a victory, right? And Odo says, listen, we may have held them off, but we're not winning. It's basically a stalemate. And next time they may get in. We've lost many men. As the king sniffles down with his eyes down, Odo thinks that they should begin a bargaining process. But then the princess goes, no, we must ignore this. We must ignore this advice of despair, this counsel of despair. We need to fight them, because if we give up and we fail, if we give up, we fail, and that's how we'll be judged. Odo says says, King, you got to make a decision. And the king just goes from 0 to asshole in 2 seconds. Stop it! He puts his big boy pants on for like 1 second. He goes, give me time. And really, we talked about this earlier. I think the time was just to stall. You could tell just by the look that the princess gives him that she knows what he's picking. She knows she's picking the cowering solution.
Yeah. And she knew that right from the beginning. And we knew that that's what the king would lean to right from the beginning as well. From the first time we see the king, and then he goes in the back and he gets the advice from the daughter.
Absolutely.
We know that he's a coward.
So we go off to the Vikings, who are shivering and crying, or not crying, they're just shivering, and Ragnar's there, and he's coughing, he's not doing so well, and he's basically dying. We see Ragnar, he's shivering, or he seems like he's dying to me, which maybe he's not, who knows. So we cut back over to, oh, sorry, don't want to talk about this scene. Ecbert pouring wine to toast his son, and yada, 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 yada. Did you kill me? Yada, yada, yada. Back to Paris. So back to Paris, we see Rolo and Bjorn. In Ragnar, it seems like some time has passed. Ragnar looks a little bit better, I would say. He's laying down. He's not coughing up blood right now, and I got to say also, we talked a lot about at certain sections of the show we didn't get scope. We really get scope of how many Viking soldiers are there in this scene.
I think in this scene we hear Bjorn say that they have about 4,000 left or something like that.
And also
they've
eventually
lost about 1,000 men.
And you could just see, and we have one of our listeners who's, I don't think's in the room right now, but had checked out the show before, who was actually an extra on set while this was being shot. And I'm curious of a lot of questions about that. And then if you can jump in the chat room, and if you're listening to this episode at some point, how many people were on set? Was it a huge set? Did you get in contact with the actors? What was the costuming and all that stuff? Like, any information you can give us about the process, we definitely love to hear. So thank you so much for checking out the episode, and so much fun it must have been being on that huge, amazing Viking set. I think he wanted to be on tonight because I think this was probably the episode that he was an extra on. So thank you so much for touching base with that comment. It means a ton. So yes, we see
I
Bjorn.
agree, guys. I think the princess is pretty weird looking too.
French princess?
Franco prince, yeah.
Yeah, she's a little weird looking. And Britain, the Burger King, wants it his way. Fridani, welcome. I haven't seen you in a while. Great to have you in the live room right now.
It does. Wow. Yeah. I'm with you, Brittany. Very much looking like the Burger King.
Burger King.
The fucking Burger King. Absolutely.
It's got to be the crown.
It's the crown too. He's got the. You're right. He's got the Burger King looking crown.
It's the crown.
Oh,
I
God.
thought that a long time ago. The first time I saw that crown, the first thing that popped into my mind was Burger King.
That's hilarious.
Well, we have a new name for the king. I don't have to learn
Burger King. He's Burger King from now on.
from now on.
Burger King.
So as the wanderer gets led there by the French soldiers, as they roll up to Rolo and Bjorn, who are kind of doing the talking here. As the wanderer's been led there, Ragnar seems to be doing better. He's laying down. Ragnar says, "It's sad to see you a prisoner. You're a wanderer." He says they want to talk terms. They want to talk about stopping the siege. And they don't think you can breach the wall. To which Rolo says, "I think we can breach the wall. If I just go in there alone, I could probably alone breach the wall."
What's Rolo need to impregnate it?
Just a couple of spikes and he'll impregnate
10
it.
good men and some climbing.
So Bjorn also steps up and he's kind of doing the talking, and they say that they want to have a meeting, or the French want to have a meeting with Count Odo. And Bjorn says, "The moment my father steps in the city, he'll be captured or killed. Where's this meeting going to be?" And they said the meeting's going to be outside somewhere, no weapons. Bjorn tells them they'll have an answer tomorrow, and Rolo fucks one of the soldiers into cutting loose the wanderer. So almost immediately, like not even wasting a beat, Lagertha's like, "No way, we can't do this. We need to kill them all." I fucking love Lagertha.
I love that they took the Frenchman, the wanderer back.
Yeah, it was like, no, we're taking him back.
He's no longer your prisoner. You're lucky we don't just send them a note written by the wanderer and keep all you fucking people.
Yep. This is the line I think you were thinking of, Joe. Bjorn says we've already lost 1,000 men. And do you know what also Bjorn says here, Joe? Do you remember the line that he says? I think Ren might. Bjorn says we've lost 1,000 men trying to get in, and winter is coming.
Yep.
He says winter is coming, which is really awesome.
I actually missed that. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, he goes.
No recollection of that in my memory banks.
Yeah, that's just a plug for another show.
Yeah, it was a plug for another show. Exactly. That's product placement.
And it was. And wasn't that their episode right before the premiere?
It
was this Thursday's episode.
Yeah, whatever. It was.
I don't know.
But anyways, for whatever reason,
Never mind.
I just wanted to point out that Bjorn did say the line "winter is coming." And
so did you find it kind of strange that Bjorn is up walking around after he had those bolts sticking out? How many? At least two.
That's why I was
like he looked almost dead.
Joe, that's why I said that I think that a lot of time's passed, or at least a good amount of time has passed.
Like a week, maybe.
I think a lot of time.
Probably a month.
Yeah, at least a month. Besides, he's so big.
So they haven't attacked the city again for a month.
Probably not. They
probably once and then wait
twice.
For them to,
it's got to be about a month.
Twice. This was their second time this Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Right. So do you think it was like they've had the Viking in their castle or in their town for like 3 weeks, and now they've come out?
Sure.
Yeah. Planning on how they want to make terms. Absolutely.
Yeah, not everything happens within 24 hours.
Joe, they had to kill the guy. They had to bring him in front of them. There was a lot of time that passed. That's why we went off to different places. We went off to Wessex. It was supposed to symbolize a lot, like a long period of time passing.
Fortnight.
This show does years in a blink of an eye. You don't think they do a month without wondering?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I'll give you the month.
As Fixia says, "Yep, winter is coming." Ren says, "I fell out of my chair."
I didn't even hear it. I am so pissed at myself.
I was dude. I freeze framed it, rewinded it. I was like, I put on my
subtitles in the room or something. But I remember the 1,000 men. So
when Ragnar had his last child, it's not like he had it overnight. Yeah. At least 9 months went by between episodes.
No, Vikings incubate like that.
Yeah, overnight.
The Vikings gestation period is much.
Look at Bjorn's kid. 2 weeks. She was pregnant for what? 3 episodes.
Christopher says the siege began in March historically, so a lot of time has passed. Ren says the bolts looked like they were up halfway up the shaft. Oh, well, hey now.
Yeah, they did look. They did look embedded almost into his lungs or something. They did. Like he looked like he was on death's door. His eyes were open. He wasn't responsive. Didn't look like he was breathing.
A Silent Fox photo says Ragnar steps up and wins the pissing contest when they're all bitching and showing up. Yeah, I love that, what we're about to get into here. So immediately Lagertha's like, no way. Bjorn's like, we lost 1,000 men and winter's coming. Rolo says, why offer peace if they think we can't get in? Ragnar's looking like he wants to say something. He's like, shut off, assholes. Rolf goes, we're almost out of food, or they're must be out of food, to which Borg's son there goes, yeah, let's let them starve, his one line for the night. And Ragnar says, well, guys, I have something to say. He says, I did not become Earl because I wanted to. I did it because of other people's action, as he stares right at Lagertha.
He not only, he stares right at all of them.
No, he goes specifically to Lagertha on Earl. Then he goes to King. He goes to Borg. He looks at the Borg. I didn't know, or Herrick's son.
Actions of someone
else. And then again, no choice because of other people's actions. Then he looks at Herrick's face, and then he says, I'm King Ragnar. And what's a king do is he gets in Rollo's face. What does a king do? Bjorn, he rules. And to date back to another conversation he had with Bjorn in the past. And he says, I rule, and he whispers to Lagertha, do you know what that means? I have the last say, and none of you. You
finally, bitch.
Exactly. King me, bitch. You all had your ideas. They all failed. I will not. And then he grunts and grunts, pukes, continues. He goes, no more discussions. No more discussions. We'll meet the Franks tomorrow. As Floki does another one of his monkey heads. Lagertha seems concerned about Ragnar throwing up all over the place and coughing, and Ragnar takes the Wanderer away and walks off as everyone kind of goes, oh shit, the king just dropped his crown on the ground and just pistol whipped all up. Mic drop, yeah, mic drop by Ragnar right there. Ragnar steps up and wins the pissing contest. Brittany says, I got chills from Ragnar's speech. All hail King Ragnar. Yep, me too. When he screamed and got that, like the heavy metal sound in his voice there.
We haven't seen too much public display of rage. Ragnar in public is always in control of his emotions, very almost like Vulcan or something like that. He doesn't wear his emotions on his sleeve like Floki or Rolo or anything like that. He's very calculated about what he lets people know and what he lets them not know. So there was this wasn't just rage that was coming out. He wasn't just mad. This had reason and purpose for him to do this. He wanted to make sure everybody in that camp knew that he was the king, that in spite of what any single one person thinks we should do, it's what I say we do.
100%.
Don't get above yourself here, people.
I've let you people, for whatever reason, because
fuck this up from the start.
Fuck this up from the start. Like, Floki, you fucked this up for killing Athelstan, and everyone else fucked this up after this. Asphyxia says, that scene reminded me of Mikey and Shameless when he gets out of prison and says, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and especially fuck you.
Yes.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Who's next? So here we go back to Cat.
I love that character too, by the way, in Shameless. My favorite. I think he's unbelievably awesome. His acting is unbelievable. His storyline is great. Thank you for bringing him up, Asphyxia.
So we go back to Kattegat, and Aslog is tending to Ivar. We already talked about this. Someone's coming. A guy asks, what should we do with the Christian? She says, kill him. Thanks. Go off. Perfect. 1, 2, out. That's all we needed. So then we go to the small council, as they're all like, where's Ragnar? We see the small council, which is Borg, Herrick, Floki, Rolo, and Lagertha, and Kalf. And they're all like, we were all supposed to go to meet the French together, dude. You totally left the party without me. And they're like, he already left. So we cut over to Ragnar talking to Odo, or we shouldn't say talking because he doesn't really say anything for a while. And Odo goes on with his whole party. How much golden treasure do you want to get the fuck out of here? Ragnar smiles, says nothing, just stares at him. So Odo says, okay, how about 5,750 pounds in gold and silver? How about that? Nothing. And they keep translating, and he says, I urge you to accept the offer. They're getting reinforcements, and the seer is doing all the translating here. Ragnar finally responds. He gets in their face and says, Ragnar, tell him no one is coming to save. Tell him I know no one's coming to save them, and that amount is too small. And he goes, there's something else I seek that's not tangible wealth, but means a shit ton to me. I want to be baptized. Odo says, I don't understand. He says, I'm a dying man. He says I'm a dying man, whatever that's worth.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't feel too good. He's pissing blood. He's coughing up blood. Whether he's dying or not, he feels like he's dying.
He feels like he's dying. And he's seeing visions of Athelstan and Odin. I mean, he's coming to the point.
In the Sylvia Plath sense of the word, aren't we all dying?
We're dying from the time we're born. It's very existential, Joe. So okay. he said everything is the only thing that I'm sure of is nothing. So, thanks, man. Thanks, man. I'm just gonna change my voice and end this fucking fuck you, dude.
You sound like the South Park Satan with that on.
Oh, really? Thank you, buddy. Oh, really? So the priest says gets in his face. He goes, Ragnar gets in the face of the priest, or the priest goes, or says something at him in his language, and it gets translated. The priest says, you'll not go to heaven, you'll go to hell. So Ragnar walks over him. This was a line that Larry was talking about earlier in the episode. He touches his face, says, that's not for you to decide. And Odo says, okay, we'll make arrangements. And Ragnar goes, hey, wait a second, make arrangements. Look, what's this guy? This guy's a man of God. What do we got here? I loved him in this scene too. Ragnar was awesome here. Travis was awesome here. He's like, what do I got here? Water. Fucking water. Let's do this now. So as Ragnar goes into the water, he says, let's do this here and now. Ragnar goes into the water. The priest comes in and he's baptized. We hear horses riding up, and it's his crew. Lagertha, Rolo, Floki. They all, the three of them specifically step in front. And they're just looking out, and they're just freaking out as they see as Ragnar comes out of the water and he's baptized and he feels good. You can see in his face he feels good about it. Everyone else is like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" And he turns around and he sees his three friends watching him, and Ragnar looks horrified that they saw him do this. Horrified that he saw, not as horrified as they look him going through this, but the look in his face was sadness as well, that they had to see him go through this. And you can also see in the background that Karl, Horik, and Borg are all there too. They're just not in the front. Holy shit. But good point, Christopher. Rolo was baptized in season 1, so technically the Vikings now have 2 Christians.
Yep. And that's what I was thinking too. Rolo looks extremely upset and disappointed, but he's already done that as well.
In fairness, he did it for a joke, whereas Ragnar's doing it because he means it.
Well, it wasn't just as a joke. There was reason behind the baptism in the first place.
He didn't take it seriously, though. He didn't take it seriously,
but wasn't like didn't like. They demanded something behind it.
They demanded to make peace or something like that. They demanded
someone be baptized, right?
Be baptized,
right? Okay.
Rolo said, "Fuck it, I'll do it. I don't give a shit." That was exactly how it happened. And then he said it meant nothing, and Floki kept going, "Oh, you can think it means nothing, but it means something."
Yep.
So a couple of questions, and then we'll get back to the chat room before we end. From a couple of people that emailed me or left some messages on some random spots.
Yeah, Floki's reaction was absolutely
priceless.
He looked like somebody just like pissed in his Cheerios or something. Like he was like, "The fuck am I looking at?" Oh.
Link says, "I'll be watching more of these Fill the Issues guy recaps. Love this. Thanks for talking about that." A couple of comments. One, some of the France enough to staying up, or I'm sorry, some of them like France enough to end up staying in Normandy, and northern France is settled in this time and means North folk land. And 2, we had a couple of people commenting about this. They didn't call themselves Vikings. The word a Viking is a verb meaning to pillage, plunder, etc. The name Viking was probably bestowed on them by their enemies.
Yes.
Jeff, who is also in the chat room right now joining us, but I wrote his comment because I didn't know he was going to be in the chat room. Silent Fox photo said.
And that goes to the conversation, the thing about the Viking, the definition. That goes to the thing about not last week, but the week before when Aslog and Bjorn's absconded wife there, the AWOL wife there, she's talking to Aslog, and Aslog is telling her what it means to be Viking and shit like that.
You're
And,
not Viking. I'm Viking. You're not Viking.
right. So that's where
The question became available.
right.
Ren says Ragnar just did that so he wouldn't have to spend the afterlife with Floki. Truth says
Everybody's going to be doing that.
in history. Truth says in history, Rolo, Robert, and French became the first Duke of Normandy. So it seems Rolo will not return to Kattegat or to Wessex without Ragnar, or without Ragnar. Jeff, who also was in the chat room, as I mentioned, Silent Fox Photos said, "Fuck, holy shit! What an immense episode of Vikings. This is the best episode to date, and one more to go." Yeah, on the back of the Star Wars live talk and the new trailer, which is freaking awesome too. It's Friday morning over here. My weekend always starts. Have a great weekend. You have a great weekend over there, buddy. And thank you for staying up late. And thank you so much for jumping in the chat room and taking a part in the episode tonight. And here's a big comment from, I'm probably going to mispronounce your name because Dasa Sloan, who is one of our favorite Vikings viewers, who always sends me such great comments on Vikings, and can't always check out the show live, but always checks out the show. So I'd like to thank you so much. He sent me a really good comment. The show is very unlike any that's been done before, and I still hold true that Floki will remain loyal to Ragnar the whole time, and Athelwulf's wife will become another of his father's tools against his son. Ultimately, killing his own son bids of overthrows his daughter in a law mistress into a forged marriage for Queen Quenforth I messed up because there isn't a period there. Into a forced marriage. As for Queen Quenforth, her child is indeed not Ragnar's, but as to the father, it will be revealed that it's Rolo's who fathered the young lad. Interesting. I also see the outcome of Lagertha and Kalf also being in the
Is that a
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll just put it out there.
Is that like something that they read from history, or is that like that? Their opinion on what's going to happen.
I think it's their opinion on what's going to happen.
Because we didn't see Rolo and her fuck at all. In fact, he was like, no, you can't touch me.
But that could have been a red herring. Also, we see the outcome, or if she let him later.
That baby was really fucking big.
Yeah, it was really big. So we also see the outcome of Lagertha and Kalf being in the lesser of the rise to the top. Bjorn, on the other hand, will oversee the attack on Paris should his father not. And I see Rolo also rein the charge into Paris. It's hard to say where Porin will be, but I don't see her leaving for long. This is what I was saying. I, like some others, believe she isn't just a peasant girl, slave Bjorn's wife. I believe she's the daughter of a king, maybe King Adler's. I don't know. So very interesting. Thank you so much for that comment. We'll have to see some of those threads if they end up happening. Fred Wright, our friend from Twitter, said, "Wow, what an episode of Vikings! Awesome, great, fucking great episode of Vikings."
Yes, it was.
Let's touch a couple more in the chat room, and then we will say goodnight. We already said. Aphixia says, "I just remembered a scene from episodes ago when Floki was watching Ragnar and Athelstan, and he was like, 'Ew, look at them all cuddled together. It makes me sick.'" Yep, and he broke out that bromance. Asphyxia says, "I remember that scene. Floki might just have Helga in the afterlife. She's too cute. She is super cute. She's got beautiful eyes." By the way, a big thanks to whoever last week turned me on to the rap battle between Rick Grimes and Walter White. Yeah, that's freaking incredible.
The what?
There's a one of those rap battle videos between Rick Grimes and Walter White. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty funny.
I haven't seen it.
And Katie says her name is Thorin Joe.
Yeah, Thorin.
And thank you, amigo. My pleasure, man. And awesome to meet you all. Yeah, it's awesome to meet you too, man. Thank you so much for all the time. And all you guys,
thank you.
Keeping the conversations rolling and keeping building this community, because we can't do this without you guys. And the more you guys check in, the more you guys share, comment, do all of that stuff, the more we can get out there and build this community, because it's really fun to talk about these episodes and watch these episodes with you guys. It means a lot. So this is a good place to end. Everyone, thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow night. Oh, no. Tomorrow night to talk some Game of Thrones. I'd like to thank Larry for joining us tonight. Larry, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And it's he's doing West Coast, but what he's really doing was signing the website. What is your website? It's right there in the bottom of the screen, g4etc.com.
That's us.
You can check out all the awesome comic book collection and all your
favorite. Don't go there from your phone. It doesn't work on mobile really well.
But check it out and check them out. You can also check out all of our stuff here on issuesprogram.com or on Fill the Issues Guy YouTube page. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and please share your thoughts on this episode of Viking during the week and what you're hoping to see in this season finale. I can't believe it's over. I can't believe next week's it, Joe.
I know. It's awful. And
It is
then
awful.
they got to extend this to like a 16 episode and then do 6-month breaks like Walking Dead.
Oh God. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be so much better?
Phil,
Yeah,
take it easy.
You too, Larry. Thank you so much, guys, and have a
It was
good
a
night,
pleasure.
everybody. Later.